Okay, so with this video I'm going to talk about the third method that we want, rotate plane to vector, and I'll show you what it does. If you look over here, we have a point and a plane that we want to rotate, and I just hooked up plane from normal and gave it the world origin, and so that's the plane that we're going to rotate. So it's pointing towards 0. So the normal is 0. And we want to rotate it to, so the normal, we want to give it a new vector and have that vector be its normal. And also we want to rotate it in the, we want to rotate it straight across. So you can see there from that angle. That the plane was going over here, and we want to rotate it straight across so the normal is now pointing towards the point that we pass in. So let's look at how we do that. I will first make that invisible, and so we're dealing with the z-axis of our plane. Our plane from frame. I haven't talked about this yet. What's important about this, to know about this, is that it gives more importance to the x-axis than the y-axis. So it's kind of similar to the plane from normal, and then the oriented plane that we wrote. In that it could give privilege to either one of these, but it does to the x-axis, and actually it's test plane from frame. Let me get our help function for this. Okay, so it actually says x-axis, a non-zero 3D vector not parallel to z-axis that is used. Note, y-axis does not have to be perpendicular to x-axis, so it kind of makes it more clear than the other method. So we're going to use that, and so it does, let's get our plane and look at it. Okay, so we get plane from frame. Origin is the world origin. X-axis is the z-axis of our first plane. So okay, so yeah, so here's our first plane. And so the x-axis that we pass in is the z-axis. So if you look at the blue, and then so this line right here is the z-axis. So we pass that in, and then for our y-axis we're passing in 1. So it gives us this plane right here. And vector angle. Now this is measuring the angle from 0 to 1. Notice that we're using vector angles, so it's not going to be, we're not worrying about positive or negative, but because this frame is set up this way, it's always going to be positive anyways. So see, if I rotate it over here, you notice that the the y-axis switch direction. So the y-axis is always going to be pointing towards 1. So look at the green line. It's always going to be pointed towards 1, but its privileges, it gives more importance to the x-axis. So that's our vector angle, and so now we rotate the plane based off of this angle and the axis, the z-axis of our plane from frame. So our plane from frame is this, and so it will rotate this plane so that it will rotate this plane according to this axis, the z-axis of this plane, and so this will be pointed towards 1. Here, let's the z-axis. I'm going to what am I going to do? I didn't feel like that was very clear, so I'm going to make a sphere. The z-axis, we need to multiply that by, let's say 50, somewhere 10. Okay, so this is the axis that it's going to rotate around. It's going to rotate around by the angle between 0 and from 0 to 1, or I guess between 0 and 1, and it's going to rotate this plane. No, this plane right here. So let's see if it does that. Okay, so yeah, it does. So like I said, this right here rotates that plane around this axis by this degrees to give us this plane. Okay, so now that we have checked that out, I guess let's okay, yeah. Now that we've checked that out, let's go ahead and write this component in Python.